So, Frankenstein is Guillermo del Toro's long-awaited, 20-year dream project. Ever since he started making movies, Guillermo del Toro has wanted to make Frankenstein. And in many ways, he kind of has. Many of his movies are certainly inspired by this. He is the master of monster movies, as we know him. But this is something special, made in collaboration with Netflix. Frankenstein is a $120 million spin on the original Mary Shelley story, starring Oscar Isaac as Dr. Victor Frankenstein, Jacob Elordi as the monster, Mia Goth as Elizabeth, Christoph Waltz as Victor Frankenstein's lovely financier. And let me get into it. It is... I don't actually know when this takes place. Victorian era, 1900s? I'm sure it says at the open, but it's a 2.5-hour movie and the title card escapes me. We are out on the Arctic and there is a ship that is out there stuck in the ice with a bunch of Danes who are trying to make it from port to port when unfortunately they see something out in the distance, smoke, fire, and a man out there, Dr. Victor Frankenstein, injured but just barely alive. They take him aboard and he says, you've got to get me, you've got to let me go. There's a creature out there and it's coming for me. And right then they hear a guttural scream. They run out and look, and out on the ice is this big clad man, this monster of a man played by Jacob Elordi, the monster. And after a bit of a scuffle, the monster departs. Victor Frankenstein says, let me tell you my story to the captain. And then we begin our film in 2 parts. Part 1, the creator, and part 2, the monster. Part 1, mostly about Victor and his journey coming up as a young boy, having a father, Charles Dance, a mother who he very much fancied, a younger brother who his father liked more. Learning to become inspired, right? Speaking out against the scientific community, saying, I've developed a way to tap into the double lymph node system and bring back life where there is none. You're familiar with Frankenstein. And ultimately giving life to the creature. And then we have part 2, the monster, which is Jacob Elordi's kind of point of view, coming to getting out of the tower where Victor Frankenstein is holding him, like Victor Frankenstein's gross mistreatment of the monster, how he learns to walk and talk and speak, and ultimately how they get all the way back out there to that ice, and then what happens next. It is a very close adaptation of the original Mary Shelley story. Like I said, Del Toro's wanted to do it forever, and I've talked about it way too long. Andy, what'd you think of Frankenstein?
So this was a bit of a mixed bag for me. There's things that I think work really well, and then there's stuff that doesn't. I struggled to get into it at the beginning. I got like 25 minutes into it, and I'm like, oh no, there's 2 hours left, and I'm struggling. Some of the backstory I think could be sped along, but once we get into Act 2, when Victor is building his lab and trying to create the monster, we get into good stuff. The sets look pretty good. The performances are pretty solid. I think Jacob Elordi is really good as the creature. I think he could garner some Oscar interest. I'm not sure about Oscar Isaac. His accent kind of slips every now and then, but he's got to kind of carry 2/3 of the movie on his back. Sometimes it looks great, and sometimes it looks real cheap. It's got that Netflix sheen where it's like this. I feel like I'm just watching a TV show and not a full like Hollywood movie. It's a little bit too long. It's a full 2.5 hours. I had to watch this in like 3 parts because I had a hard time focusing on it.
Yeah.
Mia Goth is pretty good as Elizabeth. She has those she can do these period pieces, the accent, those big sad eyes. Good at that, but the length, I really struggled with the length. But when it's cooking, it's cooking.
Yeah, I think this. It's where do I best jump in here? It's tough when a director wants to make a movie for 20 years. It's tough because they have a lot of time to sit on what they want and how they want it to look and what they want it to be. And Del Toro's here. It is his time to make this movie. He got over $100 million to make Frankenstein, right, at Netflix. And I think like the stuff that works really good is like the adornments of the set, which admittedly, like there are incredible sets in this movie. The sets are really good and all feel very practical, but they also feel a little studio. I think the lights coming in windows just look a little phony, and everything looks a little bought and placed. You know what I mean? Stuff does not look like it's been here a long time. It looks like we put it here to make a movie. And additionally, the acting is great. The picks for our cast are great. I think the costumes are great. I like the writing. I like the dialogue. I think it suffers in its pacing. It's just too long. And there's a tighter edit of this, but who's going to tell Guillermo del Toro, hey, you need to cut 10 minutes out of your movie. God, I was listening to Ringiverse cover of this, and Amanda, she was like, this should cut 30 minutes out of this movie. But there's a tighter cut of this movie for sure. And additionally, like, I think it suffers in its cinematography. I had to go look it up and figure out who shot it. And it's his longtime cinematographer, Dan Lausson, shot this movie with Guillermo Del Toro. And right after I watched it, I went and checked out the Nightmare Alley Criterion collection commentary that I'd been wanting to check out. And he mentions in there early, because I was curious. I was like, why is every shot moving? Every shot moves in Frankenstein. I couldn't figure it out. It's constantly moving. It's either a push in or a pull out or a dolly, like, but it's all like steady cam, slowly pushing in to shots, just constantly pushing in or constantly moving. You can watch it in the trailer. We've got the footage up. Every shot has motion in it constantly. The camera is moving. It's crazy. And he mentions in there, I want to see if Nightmare Alley shared this. And it does. It's way more subtle, but Nightmare Alley also has a lot of motion in its shots. But he says in there that he really wants every shot to have motion. Del Toro wants his films to flow like water. Like, he wants you to feel a constant sense of motion as you're watching it. But what that means here in Frankenstein is many shots start on a wide and push into a medium. And then we do some medium shots and the camera's kind of moving around our characters. And the next scene, start on a wide, push into a medium. Start on a wide, push into a medium. Combine that with like simple lens choice and your movie starts to look flat. And even with all these sets and even with the costumes and how good Frankenstein looks, I think in person, people end up saying it feels like cheap, it feels TV, it feels Netflixy, and like I have a hard time disagreeing with them. Like it's not for anybody's lack of trying. I think it's just a kind of combination of how he wants this movie shot and how determined he is to show off like how good these sets look, like how ornate they are.
Yeah, the set sometimes, like I said, it looks real great, but sometimes it looks like I'm on the set of Wicked or I'm on the set of Wednesday, the TV show. It's just sometimes it's not convincing. It's almost like an expensive movie made too cheaply. Like he needed $150 million, maybe probably $200 million to really make it as convincing as he wanted to. It just sometimes the stuff in the lab looks great. I think Act 2 is probably the strongest part. There's a big part of the creature story where I was like, "Dog, we got to cut this." Let's talk about performances, because I think that's really. We have three main characters, and Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi have to carry this the most.
Yeah, I like what Oscar's doing. I definitely heard people say his accent slipped. I guess I was just into the visuals. I didn't quite notice as much, but I did notice he has a very distinct British accent for sure. Like, it's very obvious. My man's been practicing in the mirror. It sounds good. But not great. Elordi has the big job, right? He's got to be the monster. Quickly before I get to him, Mia Goth is kind of this Elizabeth, like this kind of wonderful gal, kind of playing our femme fatale, very sweet, big doe eyes, like you said. Christoph Waltz also in here playing the financier. Harland, I think is his name. Anyway,
Harlander.
Elordi's got the big job as the monster. The monster cleverly has a redesign. We don't have like the Boris Karloff, like bolts in the neck. We don't even have like Christian Bale's like funny Frankenstein that's going to be in The Bride in March, right? In the Maggie Gyllenhaal movie. This is more like I'm gonna rip this right off Ringiverse, like Dr. Manhattan kind of Frankenstein. Like, he's kind of this cleaner, sleeker, kind of white, light blue Frankenstein with some good makeup to see he's kind of cobbled together. But he is a bit of like a new form, right? He's been like reborn unto, right? And he has kind of
poor
this
things.
Like new, modern Prometheus sort of poor things, modern Prometheus sort of ability. He is kind of superhuman. He definitely like can get damaged and just come back. Like, he can get shot and get up and keep walking. Like, he's just kind of invincible and regrows all the time. So he's effectively like almost a Superman sort of character. And I think that's clever. Like, it gives you some space for him to kind of be something new and different. He's covered in makeup. Elordi does a good job, I think, of being the monster for what's in here, especially from like a young actor, dude. Like, it would be easy to phone this in or be like, I don't know, I don't get it. But he seems to be really into it.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's not really a definitive version of Frankenstein. Even Mary Shelley was kind of forced to rewrite it in about 12 years after publication to make it more kind of have more religious tone. They didn't like that Victor Frankenstein was a victim of his own pride and hubris. They were like, oh, let's make him fated for this. So she had to change her version, and everyone's version since then has been slightly different. So that we get some of that here as well. That takes some liberties, but again, probably closer to the novel than a lot of adaptations. Sometimes Oscar Isaac is he's on fire and he's like cooking in some Oscar stuff, and then sometimes his accents. It's not just the accent. It's just sometimes he doesn't have great material to work with. Elordi is definitely doing the heavy lifting. The first kind of half of the creature is him as very childlike, very infant-like, scared of everything, delicate, not this kind of beast that we kind of know. And that's what the part that's in the trailer is him saying, Victor, and like throwing people around. And I was like, oh, that looks awesome. And it takes a while to kind of get there. But I think Elordi has to do a huge range of acting, very delicate, very vulnerable, to then be in the monstrous form that we're more familiar with. I think he's probably going to get an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, he might. I don't know. It's a pretty stacked category
Possibly
this year. Is he lead or supporting?
Probably lead.
You think probably lead? Yeah, like I don't know who's top billing. I would think it's Isaac, but I mean, come on, he's kind of the monster, right? It's a little heavy-handed. I do think it's got some good themes that I think are clever. There's the fact that like Harlander, his Victor Frankenstein's like financier, is a war profiteer. Like is consistent across Del Toro's filmography, right? Like he's got the military and like almost every damn movie he does. So Pan's Labyrinth, Pacific Rim, Hellboy, Shape of Water has the military. Pinocchio has a military in it, right? And it's kind of like anti-fascist zeal that he does. That's in here too. Having to source, like Victor Frankenstein having to source his bodies from corpses from a battlefield, and he's got to get the ones from the middle because the bottom ones are crushed and the top ones are exposed to the elements. Like, clever. Frankenstein Victor Frankenstein has an odd relationship with his mother, and he's got this like white figurine of like a pregnant woman, and then later Harlander's cane has one just like it on the top. Like I think there's a lot there to kind of dig into and sit with, but I think a lot of it gets pushed back by the technicals. Yeah, like the visuals are a little lacking. $120 million movie, a lot of CGI doesn't work that good. It just doesn't look that good. Yeah, like,
I needed more money.
Yeah, like somehow it doesn't come off, and it's like, oh no, like, yeah. And I've seen people say it's because it's at Netflix and it's just, Netflix, but I don't know. Like from what I read about it, like, no, this is pretty sincerely Del Toro. Like he wants people to go see it in a theater. God, he keeps tweeting like, please go see it in a theater. It's in limited theaters. Go see it where you can. Netflix got it out as many places as it could, but as far as I could tell, AMC and Cinemark, two big chains, didn't have it, so we watched it on Netflix. But even still, like, despite the length and despite kind of the pacing, like, there's so many adaptations of Frankenstein. There are so many times we've seen this story told. You mentioned Poor Things, right? Pinocchio, that he just did, is essentially a Frankenstein story. Like, Shape of Water is a Frankenstein story, also with a bangable monster. And, like, I think Del Toro, like, is so inspired by this, and he's wanted to do it so long that I'm really glad it's here. It's not my favorite by him. I don't think it's a great film by any means, but like I did end up coming on the other side of it. And I've been surprised by the reception that people have either been like, this does not work and this is a miss, which is kind of what I heard earlier, to other people being like, I really liked it and I thought it was clever and it fits, and it works for what he's doing. Like, so I think I came out on the like it side ultimately, but maybe I'm just a Del Toro stan. What about you? I mean, you seem not so much.
Like I said, I really struggled with it. It didn't grab me. I was also thinking of the Ballad of a Small Player from last week, which was also a Netflix film, and how I was grabbed immediately from that. And like the cinematography looked gorgeous, and I was into this character that we were having, that Edward Berger film, and I could just not get into this. One thing that really doesn't work for me is this kind of romance between Victor Frankenstein and Elizabeth Mia Goth's character. They hate, it's a enemies to lovers kind of storyline. They go from hating each other to liking each other in like one scene, and just happens really too quickly. A lot of things kind of happen too quickly with her, and it just doesn't it doesn't work because it doesn't develop organically
Yeah.
enough. I think you just needed to cut it. At 2 hours. I think this would have worked a lot better, but sometimes it just looks bad and not convincing. Like I said, it looks like I'm watching Bridgerton or Downton Abbey
Yeah.
or some sort of like TV show.
Yeah, I like I said, I think it's really because the sets look like bought in place. Like it does. I don't believe I'm
The lab
at this
doesn't look
place.
like a lab.
Yeah, you filled this out. Yeah, right. Like I'm looking at a set. Like that's the problem. And I think if he hadn't been so insistent on doing these like steady cam wide shot to pull-ins on every other shot, like I think it would have worked better. Like I think it would have been a little bit more convincing, but because you just keep showing it as like with these wide lens, look how good this room looks as we push in. And then the next room, look how cool this room look. Like after a while you're like, buddy, like I don't know. And he seems to really be into this, and this is the direction he wants to go in. So it's like auteur stuff. Like this isn't a mistake. He's doing this on purpose. This is the presentation in which he wants you to view this movie. Like I think I like it. I like Frankenstein, but I think it's got problems, and I think it's not a perfect movie. I don't think it's one of his best, but I think it's a solid entry. And I don't know. Maybe I'll revisit it at some point. Maybe next Halloween I'll go back and check it out. But I don't know. Any thoughts or recommendations?
I was just gonna say this was pretty soft coming out of the. It premiered at a couple of festivals to pretty mild reception. It since gained a little bit of momentum positively for awards. So I think it's very different depending on the audience and how much you're a fan of Del Toro and Gothic kind of stuff.
I know Bridgerton girlies say it's good. So I think that might be telling to who might be into this. But Andy, would you recommend Frankenstein?
This is actually going to be a soft pass for me. I think if you're a fan of Del Toro and Gothic stuff and you really want to see, if you're really interested in it, I say give it a go. I think it's way too long at 2.5 hours. You got to cut some of this story down. The performances are good by Jacob Elordi, of course, is the creature, and Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein. Sometimes it looks really good. Sometimes like the sets and effects all come together in some really incredible looking stuff. And then sometimes it looks real cheap and real bad. So it's going to be a soft pass for me.
I'm on the opposite side. It's a soft go for me. Right? That's the opposite of pass. Yeah, it's a soft yes. If you're into it, you see it on Netflix, you're like, yeah, I gotta check that out. If you go for like romance dramas, and especially like historical romance dramas, because that's kind of what we're getting into here, period dramas, like could be a good time. Use that pause button, man, on Netflix. You don't got to watch it all in one go. It's split into 2 parts. So you could watch part 1 on one night and part 2 on another night. Obviously, it's intended you would watch the whole thing, but like being on Netflix, it gives you the ability to kind of step away if you like, do your laundry. Like it is long, but I like it. I'm glad I watched it. It reminds me of, I feel like the best analogy is like your kid bringing you like an art painting from class. Look, I made this. You're like, that's awesome. I'm gonna put this right here on the fridge. That's how I feel about Del Toro's Frankenstein. I'm like, that rocks, sick. I'm glad you made it. Boom, slide it on the shelf. What's he doing next? You know, like it's good. I'm glad he's got it out of his system. I'd love for him to do something contemporary. You know what I mean? God, imagine a Del Toro movie set in modern times. Imagine. Can you? I can't. What does that even look like anymore? You know, maybe get away from the period stuff for a minute. I don't know. I'm sure he won't. My man loves his monsters, but yeah, Frankenstein's been a fun journey, I think, into what he really wants to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm always going to watch what Del Toro does. He's one of our modern masters. We loved Nightmare Alley. A lot of fun from that movie.
Yeah,
saw it twice in theater. So he can definitely. I mean, he's a Best Picture winner, and that's why they're saying this is probably going to be an awards favorite, even though I think it's a little lukewarm in parts just because of who he is and his track record. He has won Best Picture and Best Director before.
What are we watching next week, Andy?